Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody here who is on our program tonight. We thank you for being here. We're going to dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem tonight. We're going right into our program. We have a lot to talk about tonight. I hate doing that, but I feel it necessary to get through everything we need to talk about. It's very important. It's very, very important. One of the first things I want to talk about tonight, guys, is what went on in New York City last night. I think it's very important we understand what happened. Okay? I want to start off talking about the star that was on the tree last night. This is the New York Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. It was lit up just at 10 p.m. Eastern Time last night. Prior to that, New York City Police, as well as all other branches of military and police all over New York, were put on high alert. The military was not used. I want to emphasize the military was not used. Everyone was put on high alert, though. Okay? New York police all over New York. Homeland Security was there in all facets of it. Homeland Security was on scene throughout the entire protest. Now, what happened? Okay, protesters were lined up and they took a full city block. And they were rabble-rousing. At one time, they broke through barricades. They were corralled about a block away from Rockefeller Center, and they broke through the barricades and began running. They wanted to create havoc, which they were not allowed to do. There have been many arrests. We don't have count of all the arrests that were made last night here at Rockefeller Center. But as you can see, the protests were all over. Okay? I'm not allowed to show you the Palestinian protesters that were near Rockefeller Center, right at the center. They were they were waving Palestinian flags. But this is just part of what I'm allowed to show you. This comes from the New York Post. Folks, it was rabble-rousing for over 3 hours last night. Like I said, New York City Police and other police officers in the state were put on high alert. Homeland Security was there. FBI was there. Everybody and their dog was there. Arrests were made. Now, with that said, I hesitate to even report on this because this program might be taken off the air, but I'm going to risk that. We got reports last night, early this morning, that a small 10-month-old baby had been released from Hamas and now is home with distant relatives of her family. Her mother was killed. A beautiful 10-month-old baby. Her mother and siblings were killed by Hamas. Nobody, I can't say nobody, most places you will not hear this. Hamas does not want this to come out. Hamas also released 2 other hostages, I understand today, 2 older women. But here we have a terrorist group. They don't want that to be known. They don't want to be identified as terrorists, but that's exactly what they are. When I see families killed, especially young children, I become enraged, as many people do. It's got to be stopped. The bloodshed did not start with Israel going into Gaza, into the Holy Land, Judea, Samaria. Yes, Don Patogas here in the chat said, thought Ron was not going to go into politics anymore. Folks, this is the Christmas season. I can't help not but talk about this wonderful area that's been turned into a battle zone. Israel did not start this. Hamas did. Hamas attacked Israel, and it turned bloody within minutes. Killed over 1,400 people. And now they've killed even more. Hundreds of hostages have been taken, some of those killed. I'm enraged. I just want to say I'm enraged. If anybody doesn't like it, too darn bad. Too darn bad. Tomorrow I will be on Rumble. I can't say I'll be on Rumble at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock Eastern Time, but I will be on Rumble. I'm outraged. I'm enraged. I'm beyond sad. I'm beyond everything. Like I said, this is the Holy Land where Christ walked. Turned into a war zone by terrorists. I don't get it. I don't get it. I know all the stories. And yes, I can talk into the hours and night and into tomorrow about the stories that happened in this land. And now we know it to be a bloody battle zone. It's just very sad. Anyway, guys, that's what happened last night over in New York. No one got killed. People did go to jail. We'll get more information as the days go on. I didn't get any lead on how many arrests were made, but arrests were made. It's a sad day in our history. It's a very sad day in our history. I honestly never thought it would happen. Never. I thought after the 1987 skirmishes happened, I thought that would be the end of it, but it hasn't been. It hasn't been. Anyway, guys, I want to get on to bigger things here and go on. We had a solar flare on Sunday. 3 solar flares, actually. An R9.83 released from the sun, a CME. Multiple CMEs. Strong geomagnetic storms are at Earth or heading to Earth as we speak. And it's increasing chances for vivid northern lights further south starting tonight. Multiple eruptions from the sun have prompted a strong geomagnetic storm watch for Friday, which could cause vibrant aurora lights across the northern United States and the the northern part of the world. The sun is approaching its solar maximum now. It was building up for the past year, since January. It's in its 11-year cycle, which is resulting in more frequent space weather events, with this week's back-to-back solar phenomena as a perfect example of what's been happening and what's going to continue to happen out in space. NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center said at least 3 coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, happened on Sunday, sending clouds of plasma from the sun toward Earth. We showed you the slides, the movies that the Space Weather Prediction Center had, showing those eruptions. Yesterday, the Space Weather Prediction Center said a 4th CME, known as a full halo CME, a full halo CME. That prompted forecasters to upgrade the G2 watch to a G3 level geomagnetic storm watch for Friday. Full halo CMEs send out solar material away from the sun in all directions, appearing like a halo, and usually result in geomagnetic storms at Earth. The speed of this 4th CME is amplified, as the others have cleared a path through the solar wind. This 4th CME is moving faster than the others. It will likely merge with the two of the 3 upstream as it reaches Earth. The CME's expected arrival at Earth are tonight, overnight, through tomorrow, December 1st. CMEs can take between 1 and 3 days to reach Earth's atmosphere. When multiple eruptions from the sun happen, one event can overtake the other, producing back-to-back solar storms. NOAA has a 5-point rating scale for solar storms ranging from G1 to G5. Models suggest G1 minor levels are possible today, and G3 strong levels are likely tomorrow as the additional CMEs arrive at Earth. NOAA's space weather forecasters are continually watching the sun using solar observation instruments on satellites to detect and forecast space weather as it happens. After a solar eruption, when the particles are expected to arrive within Earth's atmosphere, that's when we're going to see the real space weather happen. The auroras, the crackling that you hear on radios and television stations, signals being disrupted, radio and television signals being disrupted, radio signals between air traffic controllers and aircraft in the air, radio transmissions between Houston, Russia, and the space station will be interrupted. Radio transmissions from police, fire, and medical personnel will also be disrupted, as well as ham radio communication. Some of you may have already seen it and heard it today. I have. On Tuesday, 2 days ago, the Space Weather Prediction Center said a powerful M-class solar flare created a high-frequency radio blackout event. The 9.8 solar flare created a moderate HF radio blackout event, and the associated flare was recorded by NOAA GOES-19 satellite. The high-frequency radio degradation was possible over the eastern portion of the South Pacific Ocean when the flare was in progress. That was where the sun was directly facing Earth at during daytime hours. The entire Pacific was affected. Now we're seeing the remnants of that original solar flare. As I have stated before, these solar flares reach the Earth. They disrupt radio communications. They also heat up the Earth's soil. They heat up the core. They heat up the tectonic plates that are moving within the Earth, causing earthquakes. All that plasma radiation coming from the sun gets here to Earth. It heats up all the gunk and grime between the plates. All the Earth rock, minerals, dirt, sand, and biological materials, it heats it up, turning it into an oil and greasy type substance. When that happens, the plates more freely move, causing earthquakes. We've seen an uptick in earthquakes. We've seen a huge uptick in earthquakes as of late. It's happening again. Folks, let's go take a look at the USGS map tonight. As you know, I don't like to use this map, but it gives you an idea at least where the larger earthquakes are occurring. Okay? So let's take a quick look at what we're seeing here. Let's go down here to the South Pacific. This is usually where we see the larger earthquakes. Okay? Over here, this is Tonga. This is a 4.6 earthquake that happened today, 125 miles southwest of Tonga, Houma, Tonga. This was 44.7 miles deep. 44.7 miles deep. A moderate earthquake. Fairly shallow. This earthquake in near Luvuka, Fiji, 175 miles east of Luvuka, Fiji. This was a large 5.0 earthquake, 351 miles deep. This 5.0 earthquake will be responsible for propagating a 6.0 very strong earthquake. 5.0 to 5.9 are considered to be large earthquakes. 6.0 to 6.9 are considered to be very strong earthquakes. This earthquake, since it's a deep earthquake, propagates a larger, shallower earthquake, a 6.0 earthquake. We can go west. Actually, before I get into this earthquake that it's going to propagate will probably hit in the next 72 hours to 10 days. And when it hits, it could go west from here. It could go north. It could go east into Chile and Argentina. It could go north into Hawaii or the Aleutian Islands, Alaska area. I tend to think that it'll probably go west or east down into Indonesia or over to Argentina and Chile. It could also go down here into New Zealand. We've seen this happen frequently. Of course, this agency is not even showing the earthquakes in New Zealand because they don't believe they have to. In Papua New Guinea today, a moderate 4.6 hit here. This is 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. Also over here in Papua New Guinea, this was a large 5.0 earthquake. This was relatively shallow quake, 37 miles deep. We've seen many earthquakes in this region right here. It would not surprise me that we'll see many more here very soon, considering what we know is going to happen within the next 24 hours as those CMEs reach Earth. We go further west here. This is another 5.0 earthquake, Halmahera, Indonesia. Halmahera, Indonesia, just so you know, if you haven't forgotten, Halmahera, Indonesia is where we have a volcano there, Dukono volcano, which is erupting up to 7,000 feet today. Halmahera, Indonesia. And of course, the agency in its infinite wisdom is not showing any other earthquakes here in Indonesia or the Philippines. There are 20 other events here in this region that they haven't told us about. No surprise. Going further west, into Myanmar, we spoke about earthquakes over here yesterday. This is a 4.6. This moderate 4.6 is 100 miles deep. Still a relatively shallow earthquake. Further north, here in eastern Sichuan, China, we have another moderate 4.1. This is 25 miles deep. Approximately 55 kilometers deep. Still a fairly shallow earthquake. We go north here. Mongol, China. A 4.7 moderate earthquake here. We don't often hear about earthquakes in China because they don't share information very frequently. Occasionally it'll slip out. This 4.7 moderate earthquake was a shallow quake, 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. The agency in its infinite wisdom is not showing any earthquakes here in the Middle East at all. Nothing. We know for a fact there's earthquakes over here in eastern Turkey in the Syria border area. Why? Because earlier this year we had a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that hit here. A very major catastrophic earthquake. It killed thousands of people. Thousands of people were also injured. Billions of dollars in property damage. Earthquakes are still hitting in this region. Probably about 25 earthquakes hit here today. More earthquakes throughout Turkey here. Of course, they don't show us anything here. Or in the Dokkanese Islands on the western side of Turkey. These islands are called the Dokkanese Islands here. They belong to Greece. Yes, there are earthquakes there, but again, we won't be told about it. There are earthquakes here in Greece, more than just this one that's shown here over on the western side in the islands of Greece here. This is a moderate 4.2 earthquake. This earthquake is 6 miles deep. Moderate 4.1. 4.0, 4.9 are considered to be moderate earthquakes. Of course, they don't show us anything in Italy, nothing in Croatia, nothing in the Czech Republic, nothing here in Romania, nothing over here in Germany, Switzerland, or France. I wonder why. Well, I already know. We've already talked about this. Okay? Nothing here in Spain or Gibraltar area. Nothing shown over here in northern Africa either. They're not going to show it. They're also not showing all of the earthquakes hitting here in Iceland. We know for a fact that there's seismic activity going here. They at least mentioned it last night. Here in Grindavik, they've had more earthquakes here. Grindavik is a town of approximately 3,800, 4,000 people. This whole town has been evacuated now for almost a month. October 27th. They have let people back in to get belongings, to get their dogs and cats. Only small numbers of people at one time are being allowed in. That way they can be assured that they can get people out when something happens. Again, they're expecting a volcano erupting here. We'll see. We shall see. There's a lot of stuff happening here. Most of the earthquakes that are now happening are north of Grindavik up here. Most of them are up here, but Grindavik has now gotten hit with more here. So we'll see what happens here. I'm hoping and praying that this will be settled before Christmas. And as the Icelandic people want to be able to celebrate Christmas in Grindavik. We shall see. They're not showing any earthquakes here along the coast of North America. There are earthquakes, and we can talk about those tonight. Of course, they're only showing a handful of earthquakes over here in South America, at the border area between Argentina and Chile. This is a 4.7 moderate earthquake, 97 miles deep, at the Chilean-Argentine border. Further west over here in Chile, this is Aveyah, Chile, a 5.0 earthquake today. Both of these earthquakes are in the Andes Mountains. There are a lot more earthquakes here than they're talking about here. There's probably a total of 20 earthquakes that have hit here in Chile, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia today. They're not showing anything in Central America or southern Mexico, but there were. There were 3s and 4s all throughout this area. Over here, I want to talk about a few earthquakes here. This one over here in the eastern part of the Dominican Republic. This is a 3.6 small quake. The thing that makes this interesting, it was 59 miles deep on an island. That's because the plate is moving. This is deep inside the plate here, the North American plate. Just on the north side of Puerto Rico, just off the coast, we have a minor 2.7 earthquake. This is 10 miles deep here. We have an earthquake just south of the Cayman Ridge. This was a 3.8 small quake. Small is 3.0, 3.9. This is a 3.8. Upper side of the 3. Okay? This Cayman Ridge that dropped that quake, it stretches out from over here in Guatemala. It goes out here into the Caribbean. When it comes out here into the Caribbean, it heads east, doesn't it? Okay? It heads east here. Now, let me pull it over here. I want to show you something. It starts heading east. It heads north up here until it almost reaches the Cayman Islands. It skirts the Cayman Islands here to the south and continues eastbound over Jamaica. It skirts the southern part of Cuba. It continues eastbound past Cuba, north of Haiti and the Dominican Republic here. That's one of the reasons we have this earthquake in the Dominican Republic. One of the reasons there. Okay? We have this one here, that 3.8. We also have this one here. This is a 3.6. 96 miles north of Cruz Bay, U.S. Virgin Islands. This is on the Cayman Ridge here. Today, over on the southeast side of Puerto Rico, we have a 2.4 here, off land. This 2.4 has nothing to do with the major earthquakes that happened here in 2019. But they're not telling us everything either. Unfortunately. I'm going to take you up into southern Texas, to Falls City, Texas. Falls City, Texas is in the oil and gas pumping region of Texas. Almost every piece of Texas has an oil and gas pumping field. Falls City, Texas is one of those places. This is a 1.7 tremor. This is also only 2 miles deep. Okay? Southwestern Texas, Toya, Texas, Mentone, Texas have gotten hit. Look at this swarm of earthquakes, everyone. For the most part, this is nothing but 1s and 2s. Okay? For example, right here, this is a 1.6. This is a 2.1. This is a 2.3. This is a 1.8. This is a 1.7. We go a little bit further east, down south here, we have a 1.5, and northeast of there, we have a 1.7 in Barstow, Texas. Barstow, Texas. Okay, so we have swarms there. Can I ask a question of everybody here? What does it mean when we get swarms of earthquakes somewhere? What do we usually see when we have swarms of earthquakes? What is usually happening here? Can anybody guess? we get larger earthquakes. Yes, these are fracking operations. But even fracking operations, guys, can cause a larger, much larger earthquake. And I fully expect that to happen. We've been watching this for quite some time. The last time we had one of those, we had a 5.1 earthquake over near Odessa, Texas. I have friends where their house shook, and it felt like their house was coming apart. Okay? We'll see. Aveyah says he used a roughneck in Odessa. My friend's husband, who I'm very, very good friends with, works for the oil companies. It's unreal. It's unreal. Folks, things are happening. I just want to make sure that you all are aware of it. That's why we're reporting this. There's a lot of disinformation going around. I don't like disinformation, because no one truly knows then what's happening. But I'm here to tell you what's going on. Don Patoka's over here in the chat saying, I verify and report life-threatening issues far beyond any agency mapping, as there could be disinformation, deception, dereliction issues. Absolutely. It's power-hungry people that promote disinformation. Heaven forbid they tell the truth. Rarely do they ever tell the truth. We see that here. They almost don't want to report events at all. Let's go up here to the northeast. This is Cole, Oklahoma, C-O-L-E, Oklahoma. It's a 2.1 earthquake. Also an oil and gas fracking operation area. This earthquake is also in Oklahoma. Let's go zoom in and see what we see. Okay? Out here to the southeast, we can already see pump and jack operations going on here. Oil and gas out here. So we go back up to this earthquake. Okay? What do we have here to the north? That's a river. Most rivers are over earthquake faults. They're on top of earthquake faults. But what do we have right here? More oil and gas right here. If anything happens, when an earthquake happens, if it's anywhere near 6 to 10 miles away from the fracking operation, it's a fracking operation earthquake. We don't know how many drill points that they drilled, meaning how many holes that they drilled into the earth. Wherever they've dug a hole, when seismic energy finds that hole, it fractures the rock in that hole. Whether it be a natural earthquake, a natural hole in the ground, or a man-made hole in the ground with an earthquake to boot. I believe that's what happened here. I also believe that there is a huge earthquake fault here. You can see it as this river wraps around Oklahoma here. Okay? We also have fracking operations going here in Oklahoma. There's 586,000 pumps and jacks all over Oklahoma. Further north here, this is another 1.8 magnitude earthquake. I wonder what's going on here. Oh my gosh, And yes, guys, I've already seen this. Look at this. This is right in the middle of an oil field. You can already see the oil and gas plots all over this area. Smack dab in front or in the middle of a pumping operation. Not surprising. Right here, literally right next to it. Waynoka, Oklahoma. It says this earthquake is 10 miles southeast of Waynoka, Oklahoma. That's interesting. That's real interesting. This is a 1.0 earthquake. 1.0 tremor. Folks, what do we see here? Okay. There's farms all over here. There's pumps and jacks all over this place. Literally everywhere, guys. There's Waynoka, Oklahoma right there. Right there. This is southwest of Waynoka, Oklahoma, not southeast. Sorry, USGS, you bombed out. Okay? 4 earthquakes here in Oklahoma today. Not surprising. Not surprising at all. Let's go over here to southern Utah. This is a 0.7 microquake. What do we have here? What do we have here in southern Utah? There's volcanoes. There's volcanoes down here. Folks, look at this. There's volcanoes over here. This, I believe, is a magmatic earthquake. A 0.7 microquake here. This is a 0.9 1.0 tremor here. Again, what are we seeing here? Volcanoes over here in this area. This is 0.8. What do we have here, guys? This happens to be the Black Rock Desert volcano over here. The Black Rock Desert volcano. All over here. Look at this. You want to talk about oil and gas fracking operations? You can go over here. There's plenty of it here. Plenty of those here. Incredible. Incredible. Okay? There's oil and gas fracking out here in the hills east of Salt Lake, southeast of Salt Lake, going all the way over to Grand Junction, Colorado. Oil and gas all over these hills here. Literally. I've seen it. I've seen it. Let's go to this earthquake here near Hico, Nevada. It just happens, a 1.3 tremor here. Okay? Hico, Nevada. We go north. Yellowstone, Montana. This just happens to be northwest of Yellowstone. You see Yellowstone Lake right here? This is northeast of there. This is a 0.1 microquake here. This is 0.6 microquake. Island Park, Idaho. Island Park, Idaho. Island Park is just south of Yellowstone. is 0.6 microquake here. And look at this. 0.6, 0.4. Okay? And actually, I mistook this. Okay? They said here that this was in the Montana-Idaho border region. It kind of is, except one thing. Guess where this is? This is Hebgen-like Estates. This is Hebgen-like Estates, west of Yellowstone. What do we know about Hebgen-like Estates? We have earthquakes all over this area. These are very ritzy homes here now. Back in 1959, we had what they said at the time was a 7.1 earthquake, a major earthquake. However, scientists are now saying it was an 8.0 plus earthquake. A major 8.0 plus earthquake here near Hebgen Lake. No, it was not volcanic related. It was not volcanic related. Yellowstone volcano did not erupt. Unsupported masonry fell. Walls, fireplaces fell. School buildings fell. Stores and shops around Montana fell. A cabin over here at Hebgen Lake fell into the lake. It slid into the lake. A highway, a 2-lane piece of blacktop, slipped into Hebgen Lake as a result of that earthquake. Folks, these earthquakes that hit today are just southeast of Hebgen Lake. Yeah, they're in the border region, but they're southeast of Hebgen Lake. They're west of Yellowstone. One other earthquake up here, northeast. This is a 0.1 microquake here as well. Folks, let me show you something here. Okay? The geysers are down here. Okay? Old Faithful and many other well-known geysers are over here. The Norris Geyser Basin is right here. Okay? We go up here northbound and we get into another geyser basin right here. All of this area is within the boundaries, I should say, of the Yellowstone magma chamber. This is a 0.1 magnitude microquake in this region. There are probably a lot more earthquakes in this region than are being reported as well, because USGS doesn't want us to know the truth of what's going on. Plain and simple. We pointed that out before. We go further north, western Montana here. Another earthquake, 0.3 microquake. This is a 1.3 tremor. Both of these seismic events are near Willow Creek, Montana. Willow Creek, Montana. Okay? The Yellowstone magma chamber is 11 Grand Canyons in size. Okay? Reaching up to the Canadian border and all the way down into northern Utah. all the way over to Challis, Idaho, on the western side. It's a huge magma chamber. We go further north, northwestern Montana here, we have a 1.1 tremor here. A 1.1 tremor. Nothing more. Also, nothing less here. Okay? It's incredible what we find here, isn't it? We go north here. Also Montana. Happy Farm, Montana. Okay? This is a 1.2 tremor up here. This is Kootenai, Idaho. Okay? North of Kootenai, Idaho, it's a 1.16 tremor. 1.16 tremor. Earth is moving up here, isn't it? All over this region. Don't ever let them tell you that it's not. Over here in Vancouver, British Columbia, Vancouver Island. This is a 2.4 magnitude earthquake, a minor earthquake over here at Vancouver Island today in the Cascadia megathrust earthquake region. Okay? Further south in Washington, Belfair, Washington. Okay? In the Puget Sound area. This is a 1.3 tremor here. Over here at Mount Rainier, right down the throat of Mount Rainier. This is a 0.2 microquake. USGS is saying it's 14 miles east-northeast of Ashford, Washington. No, it's not. It's at Mount Rainier. This is 1.3 miles deep. Okay? It's inside of a volcano, and there's a lot more going on here at Mount Rainier than they're saying. On Monday, I showed you what was happening here. Okay? Mount Rainier could erupt. They're not showing that, though. Heaven forbid. Over here at Mount St. Helens, look what they're showing here now. This is the reason I'm showing you this. Then we're going to go over to the New Madrid Fault. This is the most seismic activity we've seen here at Mount St. Helens. Right down the center of this mountain, this volcano. 0.2 microquake. 5 miles deep. Deep in the magma chamber here. This is also 0.2. A quarter of a mile deep. Just below the plug of this volcano. This is a 0.7 microquake. This is 4.5 miles deep. This is 0.5, 1.5 miles deep. Yes, I'm going to tell you what's going on here. This is 0.4, a tenth of a mile deep. This is at the rim of the volcano, guys. This is 0.4, 9/10 of a mile deep. This is a 0.3, 1 mile deep. What do you think is happening? What do you think is happening, guys? We have a volcano here. USGS rarely shows us anything going on. If they show us only one event, one microquake is all they show us. Today, we have 7 events here, all microquakes. Folks, the other day I showed you not just microquakes, I showed you tremors and full-blown earthquakes that are hitting here. Again, this is just one more volcano that's showing signs of eruption. Both Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens are showing signs of pre-eruption. Okay? Richard Smith says, it's waking up. You're absolutely right, it is. It is. Rob52 says, thumbs up for Ron's program tonight. Thanks so much, Rob. God bless you for that. Thank you so much. You guys are spot on today. Awaken says, Rainier, St. Helens, and Hood, eruption, we all are in trouble. Folks, if you guys are paying attention to my program, who isn't? There are tens of thousands of people that aren't paying attention to anything. And yet, we only have a handful of people here. This is Mount Hood. They're not saying one lick of anything here about Mount Hood. What is the problem here? Mount Hood is also showing signs that it could erupt. What did we show you here the other day? The other afternoon, there was a massive amount of magma that came into Mount Hood. A massive amount. And earthquakes to boot. 3.5 and 4.0 earthquakes here at Mount Hood. Folks, the agency needs to get its butt or get its head out of its butt. Okay? These volcanoes are going to take off. Then we go out to sea again. Yesterday we had a 3.43 over here on the Blanco fracture zone. Today we have a 2.7 in this near same place, except this is closer to shore. Not close, but closer. This is also just southeast of the Blanco fracture zone. This, folks, is off the coast of Oregon in the Cascadia megathrust earthquake region. In the region. Should you be concerned? I believe so. I believe so. This earthquake here, Hayfork, California. This is in the Mendocino area, the Mendocino Ridge. Just like we have this Gorda Escarpment, the Mendocino Ridge is an earthquake zone on land here in Northern California. This is a 1.8 tremor here. Just one. What else are they not showing us? Earthquakes all over this area. We go south. This is Tres Pinos again. Tres Pinos again. We had earthquakes here yesterday. This is a 1.7 tremor. Just north of there on the San Andreas Fault. Both of these earthquakes are on the San Andreas Fault. Aromas, California, a 2.5. South of Tres Pinos, we have a 2.2 in the Pinnacles area, an oil and gas pumping operation on the San Andreas Fault. Okay? This whole area is moving. Whole area is moving. One more here. This is Santa Margarita, California. I've got friends that live here. A 1.5 tremor there. 1.5 tremor. And wouldn't you know, USGS shut down my map. I can't show you anymore here. I was going to show you one or two more. Let's go over and look at the seismograms over in the New Madrid area. Okay. Of course, they're not going to show us anything here on the USGS map in the New Madrid area. Rarely do they. Rarely do they ever show us anything here in the New Madrid area. Okay. This, folks, is in Arkansas. Catfish Pond, Arkansas. Okay. This is this morning. Okay. Just after midnight, 2 minutes after midnight, we had a 1.3 tremor. Now, what happened after that? Folks, about 1:12 a.m. this morning, we had some more tremors. 1:15 this morning, we had more tremors. About 1:25 this morning, we had a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake. Okay? It's this one over here on the right here. 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Right after that, we had a 1.5 tremor. Now, yes, I believe that this was just a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. It had some buildup in tremors prior to that. After that, the secondary wave only lasted a few seconds. So 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Then we come over here to 1:31 a.m. this morning. All of a sudden, folks, we have a 3.3, 3.4, 3.5 earthquake. Between a 3.3 to 3.5 earthquake. Catfish Pond, Arkansas. This is on the eastern side of the New Madrid fault zone in Arkansas. Now we can go 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes later. 4 minutes and change later. This one is nearly the same way. This one probably a 3.1, 3.2 earthquake. This one just happened to last about maybe 5 seconds. The one 4 minutes earlier lasted 2 or 3. So now we've had two at least 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes. After that, about 2 minutes later, we have some more tremors. 2.5 minutes later, we have another good-sized earthquake. This was a 3.0 earthquake. Okay? That was this morning. Then, folks, not a lot happened after that. Just some tremors. Until what happens here. Just after 8 a.m. this morning. About 8:05 this morning. And I'm going to say just about 8 a.m. this morning, we had some very tiny tremors happening. 1.0 turning into 1.1, 1.2. A few minutes later, 1.3, 1.4. Then we have 1.8, 1.9 magnitude tremors here. You can see the seismic signature. Then it tones down, except in this case, the secondary wave lasted 2 minutes. What they're not showing you is the real power of this earthquake. It was bigger than what they're showing, which would have been maybe a 2.0 earthquake. 1.5 to 2.0 earthquake. But not with that 2-minute secondary wave. That 2-minute secondary wave tells us this was a much larger earthquake here. Okay? And then the rest of the morning, all we had were tremors. That's all. But look at the earthquakes that we did have. Okay? That's just Catfish Pond on the east side of the New Madrid Fault. Let's see what happened this afternoon. Oh my gosh. For the first part of the afternoon, it was fairly quiet with tremors. Minor tremor activity. 1.0 to 1.5 over here on the blue line after 1:30. Then what happened? After 3 o'clock, it really got to be busy. 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, 1.4 tremors, 1.5 tremors, 1.6 tremors, dropping back down to just minor tremor activity. Then all of a sudden we have a 2.0 earthquake. 2.0 earthquake. And more tremors. But just prior to this all happening, just about 2:59 p.m., we had seismic energy here. A 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Then over here after 3 o'clock, (3:05 p.m.), 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Okay, does this give you any idea of where we're going here on the New Madrid Fault? Folks, let's look at Little River, Arkansas. Not too far from Little Rock. Bunch of tremors, huh? Well, I'll be darned. A bunch of tremors near Little Rock. What's going on here on the New Madrid Fault, guys? Do you think it's moving? I think so. Let's go over to Mark Tree. Look what's happening at Mark Tree, Arkansas. This is a lot like we saw last night, excuse me, near the Salton Sea, Bombay Beach. What do we have here? More earthquakes. More earthquakes. All over the New Madrid Fault here. This happens to be, guys, Mark Tree, Arkansas. We see this kind or these kinds of events every day. Literally every day. Now, for the most part, we're seeing 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes, minor earthquakes. However, we're also getting to see larger earthquakes than that. We go down here this morning over on the left-hand side. Okay? Well, before we get to the left-hand side, let's go over here to the right. On this red line here. Okay? Over on the left, it's a 415 line. So over here on the right, this is I'm going to say 4:28, 4:29 a.m. this morning. We see a lot of tremors building up, don't we? 1.6, 1.7 tremors. Then all of a sudden, right before 4:01 a.m. this morning, we still see a buildup of tremors. And then all of a sudden, we go to a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. However, that seismic signature has been cut off at the top and cut off at the bottom. So it's not a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. This is well over 3.0. Well over a 3.0 earthquake. Okay? Then the secondary wave lasts over 60 seconds. The secondary wave lasted over 60 seconds. Tremor, minor earthquake time. Okay? This was at least a 3.5 earthquake, if not a little bit larger than that. Okay? Marked Tree, Arkansas. You can see all this happening. We show you this every time we talk about Marked Tree, Arkansas. This happens every day. I could go on and on and on showing you the seismic activity here at Marked Tree, Arkansas. Okay? This is on the eastern side of the New Madrid Fault. It's not just here in Arkansas either. By the way, this is Marked Tree, Arkansas this afternoon. On the black line, that's 12 noon today. At least 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. It goes off the chart, off the paper here. It lasts a little over a minute and a half. Then we have the secondary wave. It appears that the secondary wave lasts about 30 seconds. Then the body wave took over, and the body wave kept going and going and going. Maybe a 30-minute body wave. A 30-minute body wave. So this might be close to a 3.0 earthquake this afternoon. Then again, at 1:14, 1:15 this afternoon, on the right side here, we have another 2.8 earthquake, minor earthquake. And not just one, but several 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes. And the rest of the day, this afternoon, quiet. Fairly quiet. Now I pulled this seismogram, what's maybe 4:30, 4:45. Fairly quiet the rest of the day. Usually we see a lot more activity than this at Marked Tree, Arkansas. You guys asked me what was going on. This is what's happening. I want to show you the Ozark Folk Center in north central Arkansas. This seismogram has been played with. You see a lot of gobbledygook here. However, you see some very rich tremors here on this seismogram amid all the other gobbledygook. Okay? So you see some tremors here. We've seen earthquakes here before. We've seen tremors here. This is nothing new. But the gobbledygook we can do without. We can definitely do without. This afternoon is a different story. Look at this. Now we're talking about 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes again. Multiple, probably three of them. One about 12:50 p.m. Another about, I'm going to say, what should I say? 1:25 p.m. Just tremor activity. Then over here on this green line, this would be about 1:58 p.m. today. Central Time, 2.2 earthquake, minor earthquake. Ozark Folk Center, North Central Arkansas. Not surprising. This afternoon, more of it. Look at that. More of it. Minor earthquakes, every one of them, amid all the gobbledygook. Truman, Arkansas. We've seen this kind of activity before here at Truman. Okay? Look at that. Folks, we also have some magma activity beneath the ground here. These are long-term magma pulse seismic waves. This is magma beneath the ground here. Yes, we're having earthquakes here caused by magma here in Arkansas, near the New Madrid Fault. We haven't talked about magma being here at the volcanoes here. There are a couple volcanoes in the region. There's more volcanoes in Missouri than Arkansas. But you're seeing magma activity here. You're also seeing earthquake activity here as well. Okay? Truman, Arkansas. Let's move over to Tyronza, Arkansas. Sorry, that was this afternoon. Okay, I'm going to show you Tyronza, Arkansas this afternoon. There was more activity this morning, but apparently the USGS does not like us having this information. So they stopped it. But folks, these are all tremor activity. Tremor activity on the southern side of Arkansas. You think that's what can happen, guys? Yes, it is. There's a lot of activity happening here on the New Madrid Fault. But again, the agencies don't want us to have it. Do I think that the New Madrid Fault is going to go? Yes, I do. Sometime probably in the next 5 years. I do not think it will be less than that. Okay? 5 years. Let's go further north into Illinois. Fairfield, Illinois. Again, we have a lot of gobbledygook here. We wade through the gobbledygook and we find a bunch of tremors. And yes, there are a couple 2.0 earthquakes here as well. You can very well see the tremors here in Fairfield, Illinois. The New Madrid Fault reaches up to just south of the Great Lakes in the U.S. This is normal. This is normal. We have friends of our program here in Illinois. They're telling us they're seeing or feeling activity. Yes, there is seismic activity in Illinois. No doubt in anyone's mind what is going on here. Okay? Fairfield, Illinois this afternoon. Look at that. There's tremors and 2.0 earthquakes all over here. A year ago, this was not happening. 2 years ago, this was not happening. 3 and 4 years ago, it was not happening. The most you'd ever see here is a very minor tremor. 1.1, 1.2, 1.7, 1.8 tremor. That's about it. Now we have full-blown earthquakes. Full-blown earthquakes. All right. New Harmony, Indiana. In past weeks here, there was a lot more activity. And by a lot more, we were seeing 2.0 earthquakes constantly. Constantly. Side to side, top to bottom, all over this seismogram. It stopped. It stopped. Why? I don't know. I do not know why this stopped here. Carl Smith says, 5 years, you gotta be kidding me. I don't think the new matter fault has more than 5 years. Some scientists are saying 15 to 20. I don't think so. I just honestly don't think it's going to be that long. We're seeing a lot of seismic activity that's building up, except for here today. This last week, the activity here in Harmony, Indiana has virtually stopped. Don't know why, but it has. It was great guns just here even a week ago, but it's virtually stopped now. This is this afternoon. Okay? It's virtually stopped. Now, I want to go over to Missouri now. I showed you Indiana. I've shown you Illinois. The seismic activity is there. Okay? Let's go over to Missouri now. Okay? East Prairie, Missouri. Right here. Almost nothing. We, last week and before that, we were getting good-sized tremors here in East Prairie, Missouri. We're actually getting some earthquakes here in East Prairie, Missouri. Now it is virtually stopped. Don't know why. This is East Prairie, Missouri this afternoon. The tremor started picking up just before 1 p.m. Okay? About 12:46, 12:47 p.m., they started. And they continued for about an hour. And then they died out. Fascinating. Barker Cemetery, Missouri. Look at this, guys. Usually, we've seen tremors early in the morning hours. 1 o'clock in the morning, 12:30 in the morning, all through the morning hours. Now, what do we see here today? Okay? Just before, actually this is about 7:14 a.m. this morning. We see a minor tremor over here on the right-hand side. 1.2, 1.3 tremor. We go over here to 7:18 a.m. this morning. 1.4, 1.5 tremor. Then there's a lot of gobbledygook here. No, we did not have any major earthquakes around the globe that would have caused this zigzagging seismic pattern here. Okay? It's all crap. Okay? But what happened here this morning? Yes, we had a good-sized earthquake here this morning. Barker Cemetery. Okay? 8:55 this morning. This appears to be a 3.0 earthquake. We had tremor build up, then we had the earthquake, and it wasn't just one earthquake, it was several. And then we had a secondary wave that lasted probably close to 30 seconds. Then it dissipated into a body wave. So this is a 3.0 earthquake. Then we have a bunch of tremors here later this morning. We don't usually see this kind of activity here. We see a bunch of tremors, and we've had some 2.0 earthquakes. Now we're seeing one 3.0 and very little of anything else. That has me wondering what happened. This is Barker Cemetery this afternoon. Okay? Again, we don't usually see this small bit of activity. Almost all of this is tremor activity except for this one earthquake on the green here. 12:55 p.m. this afternoon. We don't see the bottom of the quake. They've negated that earthquake. This is probably close to a 3.0 earthquake again. So Barker Cemetery is seeing two small 3.0 earthquakes today, and very few tremors. Fairly interesting information here. Dogwood, Missouri. This is in the heat of the moment, near center of the New Madrid Fault in Missouri. Dogwood, Missouri. Look at these tremors here. Look at these tremors. There's this earthquake here over on the right-hand side, on the black line. Okay? 10:14 a.m. this morning. Several 3.0 earthquakes hit. That seismic signal is fairly long. 3 or 4 seconds worth of 3.0 earthquake. Okay? Back to back to back. Then there was some time and a couple more hit. Okay? Yes, there's seismic activity here. It's on the New Madrid Fault. We're likely to see a lot more than this. A lot more than that. Dogwood, Missouri this afternoon. It was fairly quiet. Okay? Fairly quiet. Guam, Missouri. This is fairly typical of what we see at Guam, Missouri. Long-term tremor and minor earthquake activity. These are all tremors and minor earthquake activity. Over here on this blue line here, just after 2:33 a.m. this morning, we had some tremor buildup starting about, I want to say 2:31. gradually building up to 2.0, 2.3 earthquake activity. And this seismic activity lasted about 2 minutes. Then it went down. We had a secondary wave that lasted about a minute and a half. Okay, this shows us maybe 2.2, 2.3 earthquake. Folks, this seismic activity, the secondary wave lasted a minute and a half, probably 3.5 earthquake, meaning this seismograph was turned down. 3.5 earthquake here at Dogwood this morning. Okay? I'm sorry, not Dogwood, Guam, Missouri this morning. Some people got shaken out of their beds. It was an overpowering earthquake, just enough to get people's attention. Okay? But all this tremor activity here, Guam, Missouri. Is it going to continue? Probably. It did this afternoon. Look at that. Unreal. Long-term tremor activity. It's happening, guys. It's happening all over. Let's go over to Penobscot Bayou, Missouri, right here. Right there. Tremor activity. We were seeing full-blown earthquake activity. Mostly minor earthquakes here 2 weeks ago. Now we see it's degraded, it's gotten smaller. A lot smaller. The degradation is unreal. We're not seeing the big tremblers that we've been seeing. They weren't overly large, but they were good sized. Let's go over to Portageville, Missouri. Look at this. Portageville, we're starting to see these larger earthquakes that we've seen over at Bombay Beach, over at Arkansas, over at Marktree, Arkansas. It's happening here, Portageville, Missouri, this morning. This happened just after 1:33 this morning. The tremors started building. The tremors started building. 2 minutes later, we have full-blown earthquake activity. Seismic activity. These may seem like minor earthquakes. I think this was a 3.0 earthquake. This lasted just over a minute. Then out to the right-hand side, we have about 40 seconds of secondary wave, which tells me that this earthquake sequence here was slightly larger than they're portraying it. Okay? And on top of that, the body wave goes out for another 2 minutes out, 2 minutes later. 3.0 earthquake here in Portageville, Missouri. Then it wants to start at 2 a.m. Look at that tremor sequence there. This tremor sequence lasted just over 2 minutes. Then we go down here to 10, I'm going to say 10:57 a.m. this morning. Actually, no, it's 9:57 a.m. this morning. 3.0 earthquake. This 3.0 earthquake lasted 2 minutes. 2 minutes, guys. The New Madrid fault is moving. The New Madrid fault is moving. Nobody has to believe it, but we're showing you the evidence of it. No, it's not moving as much as it has, but it's moving nonetheless. Portageville this afternoon, here's another one. We have 3 small earthquakes here in Portageville today. 2 this morning and 1 this afternoon. And more tremor activity as well. This earthquake lasted 2 minutes long. The sequence started well before that. We had tremor activity for about 2.5 minutes. Then it built up to full-blown earthquake activity. And like I said before, I think the seismograph has been turned down on this, because out to the right-hand side, the secondary wave here, the secondary wave lasted nearly a minute. That tells me this is at least a 3.0 earthquake, at least. So we have small earthquakes hitting on the New Madrid fault here, on both sides of the fault. It's hitting. It's hitting. We showed you that. Let's go over to Ridgely, Texas on the east side. Look at the tremor activity here. A large portion of this seismic activity here that you see on the seismogram starting at midnight this morning is gobbledygook. It's trash. The only information we want to even look at is at the bottom of this seismogram. Okay? That's when we see tremors. We don't see full-blown earthquakes, I don't believe, but we see widespread tremor activity here. Okay? Ridgely, Tennessee. And it doesn't stop. It continued, but here we don't see all the seismic activity. This is gobbledygook. This is trash. Okay? Artifact is what they call it. Artifact. Let's move over to Tiptonville, Tennessee. Like I said, this is over on the east side of the fault. Look at this. This is an entirely different matter here. What you're looking at is full-blown earthquakes. Full-blown earthquake activity here. Look at that. Incredible. Top to bottom, side to side. Yes, I believe we've had some 2.5, 2.8s, and possibly down here at the bottom of this seismogram, 3.0 small earthquakes. We have minor and small earthquakes hitting here in Tiptonville, Tennessee. That is this morning. Let's look at this afternoon. Look at that. This is very telling of what's going on. The New Madrid fault is getting hit on both the west and the east side of the fault. This is crazy. This is crazy. We have never seen this kind of activity on the New Madrid fault yet. Yes, we've seen tremors. We've seen all kinds of tremors and sometimes 2.0 earthquakes, but we've never seen this before. Okay? This is incredible. This is incredible on the New Madrid fault. Everyone should be concerned about this. Okay? I've shown you Ridgely, and now I'm showing you Tiptonville. Okay? Don Patoka says, Crayola ad, Ron? I wish I could say I did. These are good-sized earthquakes. These are good-sized earthquakes here on the New Madrid Fault. Does anyone have any questions about anything we've talked about tonight? I want to make sure you understand what's going on here. We should have reason to be very concerned. I'm not saying worried. I'm saying you have reason to be concerned about living on or around the New Madrid Fault tonight. I'm not saying you should move. I'm not saying that at all. I'm asking everybody to keep their eyes and ears peeled. Some of you might be feeling seismic energy. Some of you might be feeling the earth move beneath your feet. Small earthquakes. You're going to feel those. When you start feeling or hearing your furniture bouncing up and down on the floor, when you see furniture move across the room, or feel your bed at night moving, that's when you should be deeply concerned. I think everyone has a reason to feel concerned about the New Madrid Fault tonight after seeing this. This is the most activity we've seen here at Tiptonville, Tennessee ever. Ever. I've been watching it now 4 years. I've been watching 4 years. And this is what we're seeing. Okay? This is almost unheard of. This is almost unheard of. I pulled this seismogram just after 5 p.m. You should be concerned. This happened all day long. All day long. If it just happened for a few hours, I think you'd have to be concerned. But this happened all day long. Now, all of you have the chance or the ability to ignore it. Anyone can ignore it for as long as you want. But if you ignore it and your life gets destroyed, then that's on you. Like I said last night, there's some things that we've been talking about over the last 5 years. Nearly 5 years we've been on the air. Over 4.5 years we've been talking about this. Talking and talking and talking. You guys asked me, should we be worried about the New Madrid Fault? Back then, no. Nothing was going on. Now it is. You need to have a plan. Not just for earthquakes. If you wonder what's going to happen in your area, go talk to your fire department. Call your city or town and ask to speak to the emergency manager. If they don't think what's going on, they don't know what's going on, they haven't seen this stuff, show it to them. Show it to them. They should be very concerned. They should be very concerned. I've got a complete presentation on the East Coast. The East Coast is not even this bad. The East Coast is showing tremors and minor earthquakes, 2.0s, 2.5s on the East Coast. The Atlantic plate is pushing on the North American plate to the south-southwest The East Coast is moving. It's putting pressure on the New Madrid Fault. The west coast of the United States and Canada is moving. The Pacific Plate is subducting underneath the North American Plate. We have energy on the west coast that's spreading here to the east, putting pressure on the west side of the New Madrid Fault. So the New Madrid Fault is being pressed like this. That's why we're seeing these earthquakes. That's why we're seeing these tremors. For the most part, it's been quiet. Very quiet on the New Madrid Fault as of late. This activity over in Tennessee has me very concerned. That's telling me that the power coming from the Atlantic Plate pushing on the east coast of the United States and Canada is very real, very strong. Putting pressure on the east side of the New Madrid, causing this kind of seismic activity in Tennessee. Everybody needs to be very concerned. Make sure you have a preparedness plan. I know probably 90% of you have not written a preparedness plan. You need to have a plan. We've shown you earthquakes around the world tonight. Earthquakes in Utah. Earthquakes in Montana and Idaho. Earthquakes in Washington, Oregon, and California. Earthquakes in Oklahoma and Texas. And I'm telling you, there are earthquakes in Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. This is real, folks. I'm not kidding. You need to have a plan. You need to have an emergency preparedness kit. You need to have food storage. I'm calling for everybody to have at least 6 months worth of food put away. Make sure you have at least 6 months of food put away. On the same token, you need to have water. You can't live very long without water. You need to have it. Make sure you have medicine, prescriptions. Whatever drugs you're taking, make sure you have at least 90 days worth of supply. Make sure you have Tylenol. Make sure you have baby aspirin. Make sure you have analgesics, toothpaste, toilet paper. Boy, I would love to see toothpaper. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you've had a good eye exam lately. Make sure you have glasses or contacts. Make sure all of the things that you're putting aside for emergencies can be moved at a moment's notice. Make sure your policies, your insurance policies of your home, anything that you have on your computers, anything you have at your cars are well taken care of, as well as your life insurance. Make sure you have documentation of everything for each one of you and your children and your spouses. Your shot records. All kinds of medicinal records. Make sure you have it on everybody. Things are happening. Politics are going to get very rough. Already we're seeing the Biden administration crack down on everybody. 4 people have been kicked off YouTube this week that I know of. My friend Dave Hodges is over on Rumble. Look for the Common Sense Show on Rumble. He is alive and well on Rumble. Check him out. He's not going away. Other people are also not going away. Dan Bongino, Glenn Beck, and all of Glenn Beck's people. They're not going away either. I'm not going away, except away from YouTube very soon. If I hadn't had problems getting on Rumble today, yes, I had some technical difficulties, we would have been on Rumble tonight. Folks, it's all about you. It's all about you. Make sure you're ready. I have a scripture I want to share with you before we get out of here. This comes from the book of James. James chapter 2, verse 26. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. You need to prove to God who you are. You need to prove to God that you have your testimony of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. He's willing to bless us if we're doing what He asks us to do. He doesn't give any commandment to any of us, save He prepare a way for us to accomplish the things which He hath commanded. That's a direct quote from the Scriptures. Find out who you are serving. You need to be serving God. You need to be serving God, not mammon. When we are in the service of our fellow man, we're only in the service of our God. Let's make sure that our family is taken care of first. Let's make sure we also try to help our neighbors and our friends. Get them taken care of. Absolutely necessary. Please share this program with them, as well as your social media contacts and the people you work with, especially if they have family on the New Madrid Fault. It's moving, and it may not be pretty. I don't think we have much time left. I will keep on putting things up and doing my investigations as best as I can. But if I don't have anybody that's willing to listen and follow what we're saying, we don't have anything. Faith without works is dead. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I care about you. I care about you and your families and those that you care about. That's why we're here. That's the full purpose of this channel. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I want nothing but the best for all of you. All of us. All of us around the world. This is just not a United States program. This is an international program. I want us to see if we can get up to 2,000 subscribers before the end of this year. We're nearly at 1,900. We have 30 days to get up to 2,000. I would hope we can do that. Please, folks, make sure we do. We need the people to hear this message. That's why I harp on it. That's why I talk about it. This is nothing about me. I don't care about me. I'm taking care of me. I'm worried about you all. That's why we're here. I love my God, our God. I am completely convinced that that's why I'm here on this earth right now. He could very well have taken me before now. I should have been dead years ago. I'm still here. Yes, I've suffered some health setbacks as of late. And I'm fighting for my life now. I'm still here, trying to help all of you. May God be with you this day and always. If anything else happens tonight, we will be back here to talk to you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, take care of yourselves and those you love. Be there for all of them. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. I love you.